Hello and good evening. I don't have anybody in the room right now. I know that Saturday night at 9 o'clock is probably not the optimal time. However, my schedule right now is a little off. I'm coaching some intramural basketball for 9 and 10-year-olds, and so we practice on Saturday evenings. So, uh, really go over a quick agenda here for what I'd like to talk about. And again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. My email address is travis.bonfili at faculty.umUC.edu. So you guys should all have my contact information, my cell phone number. If something is just simply too long to commit to an email, is 443-223-1430. Again, my cell phone number is 443-223-1430. So if anything comes up, please do not hesitate to contact me. And so the agenda for this evening, I'm going to be talking about the packet tracer upgrade. We're going to take a look at that for the CCNA security, and that'll be pretty brief. I'm then going to talk about the 3 CCNP courses, specifically the welcome and sort of getting the students on the right path to kick things off. Then I'm going to be talking about the Cisco Learning Labs. There was an interesting question, concern/question that was brought up from one of the instructors regarding the answer tab or the solution tab that is there on the activities. And so I'm going to provide you with some ideas that you might be able to integrate this term or this semester to make those activities a little more real world. And then I'm going to be talking about the chapter exams and the final exam in all 3 of the CCNP courses, as well as the final projects for all 3 CCNP courses. So let me go ahead and tackle the low-hanging fruit first, and that's going to be the packet tracer upgrade. So for those of you instructors who are Cisco Networking Academy certified and teaching the CCNA security course, and actually let me jump out of here, I'm sorry, that is the CCNA security course there. Let me pop back to My NetAcad. So when you log into My NetAcad, you'll notice that when you come down here to the bottom, they've got the download packet tracer link. And the new version of Packet Tracer is 7.2.1. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out for the CCNA course in security is that when I had updated the course in the fall, everything was still 7.2, and they hadn't released the update yet. And there are some serious bug fixes, and they had some serious issues in version 7.2. So please make sure if you're teaching the CCNA security course that one of the first things you do is you go ahead and download the Windows 64-bit and 32-bit executables and make those available in your course room download area. Because as you'll notice, if I go to, here is the model for the course. If we were to come to the content, and if I was to come down here to where are we at here? Week number 1. Whoops, if I was come down here to week number 1, you can see we've got the Turnitin lab enrollment and the packet tracer labs. However, we've got this packet tracer link right here, and you can see it still has version 7.1. So you want to make sure it's version 7.2.1. So you're going to want to go in here and update that. And that's really it on the CCNA security course. So again, very important. Make sure you encourage your students to download 7.2.1 and make sure that you incorporate that into the course room. I'm going to be updating that model course room tomorrow. I'm going to be doing quite a bit of work tomorrow on all 4 of the courses to continue to sort of uplift things. And so then the second agenda item I wanted to talk about was the 3 CCNP courses. And so you'll notice here we've got some announcements, and then in order to get this, kind of provide the students with some scaffolding here to get started on the right foot, and let me refresh this real quick. My mouse is kind of hung up. Yeah, so I've added in here, start your CMIT 451 journey here. I've done this for all 3 CCNP courses. And basically, it is nothing more than a welcome video that kind of explains to the students who the course is geared toward, what's going to be covered, and then how to get started. Excuse me, and then how to get started. So you can create your own video if you'd like, or you can just make sure that this video is available to the students so that they can access it. And then that's going to take them into the main content section. Now, something else that I've done here in the content section, I talked about the start here for week 1. Every week has this. I talked about the week 1 checklist. Every week has this for every CCNP course. So I'd highly encourage, have you highly encourage the students to use the start here for week 1 and the checklist to guide their activities throughout the semester. And I talked about that in the first video. If you need the link for that, let me know. But what I wanted to talk about was this here, because typically students are asking, how do we cut and paste? How do we submit? So this, again, is a very short link here, or a very short video that will walk learners through how they cut and paste their configurations from Cisco Learning Labs. Sometimes that becomes a bit of an issue. And I'm going to come back to the chapter exams here in a second. I want to save the bulk of the time for that. And so that is sort of from an introductory perspective. It's going to explain to them how to get those things set up. Now, there's also a tutorial video in all 3, and those videos are in all 3 of the CCNP courses. Now, there's also an introductory video when we talk about, and let me make sure we get this right here. It's under the Cisco Lab Enrollment Read and Respond. And there's a video right here, again, in all 3 courses that is going to explain to the learners how to best leverage the Cisco Learning Labs activities, how to properly navigate the interface, which is sometimes problematic, and most importantly, how to properly log all the way out of the Cisco Learning Labs activities. Once they've completed the activities and cut and pasted their configurations, they need to make sure that they log out, because if they don't, as you know, the time will simply run and then it's going to expire. And then they're going to have to pay another $100 or whatever the cost is to the bookstore in order to re-up for another 50 hours or another block of time. So all of those videos have been incorporated, hopefully to give them, again, some scaffolding and make it a softer landing to kick the course off and to get them up and running. So I also wanted to address the issue that one of the adjunct faculty brought up. I believe his name was David, and he was curious, when you log into Cisco, and did not want that. When you log into Cisco Learning Labs here, and you can see I'm logged in, I still have access to the route course, so I'll go ahead and use that as my example here. And for anybody that's taught the CCNP courses, you're probably abundantly aware of this challenge, right? Where we've got the discovery activities, and the discovery activities are sort of those activities where it literally walks the students through, and if I was to simply start, we'll take a look at basic redistribution. It's basically going to walk the learners through the tasks that need to be completed as part of this activity. And so you can see we've got our topology here, and then you've got your introduction, your job aids, and then we have the procedure. And as you can see, it doesn't leave much to the imagination. It actually provides the exact commands that need to be run in order for the learner to get the activity completed. Now, in the discovery activities, that's not such an issue. However, let me slide this down just a little bit. However, it's in the challenge activities, and the challenge activities are the activities which are being graded. And so the problem in the challenge activities, and I'll just pull up configure EIGRP here, and we'll kick this back off. And let's resume this lab. And so with the challenge activities, the problem is much the same. And it's that you have the answer key link, right? So all the learner has to do is click on the answer key link, and literally here are the answers. So I'm going to give you some ideas as to maybe how you can handle this in a different way on the challenge activities, but this is going to require some legwork on your end if you'd like to pursue this. So the concern was that the learners can simply pull that up, print it up, and then just type the commands in. And again, there's not much that we can do to stop that. We don't have any control over this answer key link. There's no way for us as UMUC faculty, as the school, to influence the ability of learners to get access to this answer key link, unfortunately. So one recommendation, and this is something that I've done in the past in CCNP courses that I've taught where Cisco Learning Labs is being used, is there aren't too many challenge activities. And so if we go back and take a look, I think for every class, I think it's like 10 to 12. So here in the route course, you can see there's 12 challenge activities. And you've got configure RipNG and whatever else that you could be working on. So something that you could do is you could go into the challenge activity, complete the challenge activity, and then add on to the challenge activity. However, again, you would have to make sure that you're communicating, hey, when you do challenge number 5, configure OSPF, maybe they don't have you configure the OSPF router ID. Maybe they don't have you configure passive interfaces. Maybe they don't have you use the network statement in order to enable the OSPF process on an interface. And so, and another activity here that might be good, again, depending on what's being covered as part of the chapter, maybe they don't have you securing the OSPF adjacencies with keychains or area wide. And so these are things that maybe you can add in to the activities that the students don't have the answers for. And again, it certainly is a challenge, right? And it's the same challenge that we have with on the Cisco Networking Academy side when learners are taking the chapter exams, is that every chapter exam for every CCNP course and every Cisco Networking Academy CCNA course, every single answer for every single exam you can get on the internet. And I have learners every semester, and I can tell who those learners are pretty quickly, because in the testing engines, there are mistakes where the correct answer isn't the one that's selected. So to give you an example, I had a student probably a year ago, and I want to say that it was the route course that I was teaching, who completed all 8 chapter exams in the first week with 100% on every single chapter exam. And then when I drilled in Netacad to look at the information to see, how quickly the student, he was averaging about 4 minutes on each chapter exam, which it typically takes about 4 minutes to simply read and understand the question on one of the questions on a chapter exam. So it's pretty easy to tell when learners are doing that. But again, the challenge for us as faculty is that we can't control that, right? So this is something that you would be able to control. And again, there aren't too many challenge activities. So it's an opportunity for you, when you get access and you have your Cisco Learning Labs account kicked open, is to maybe go in, work through one of the activities and see, hey, what are they asking me to do? So if I was to look at the answer key for this, again, you can see they use the network statement. Maybe what you do is you tell the students, you can't use the network statement. And so what that would require is they would have to go into the interface and say IP OSPF, whatever the process ID is, area, whatever the area number is, right? So maybe you could change that on this activity. And it doesn't look like they're setting the router ID. So yeah, they're not setting the router ID. So there's a great opportunity to do that. It doesn't look like they're securing, and they are doing passive interface. So again, just little things related to the technology that maybe you can incorporate into the activities, right? Based off of the material that correlates to this activity. So I wanted to make sure that I talked about that a little bit as well. And again, I know it's tough, right? We can't stop them from getting the answers if they're doing the Cisco Networking Academy exams, which is one of the nice things sort of going forward, where we'll have our own exams in each of the CCNP courses. And so that's kind of a nice segue into where we're at. And let me exit out here so that I don't lose my remaining time. And let me go all the way out here and exit the lab system. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about the chapter exams and the final written exam. So in rewriting the courses, this is definitely an area where I came up short and wasn't able to get all of the chapter exams in. So for the route course, there's going to be a chapter exam. And let me take a step back. So when you're teaching the course, and if you're a Cisco Networking Academy certified instructor at the CCNP level, you have access to the chapter exams that are being offered as part in NetAcad for your learners. So if you're teaching the course and you're NetAcad certified, those are the exams that you could use. And typically those are the ones that are being used. If you're not Cisco Networking Academy certified and you don't have access to the NetAcad exams, then the exams you'll have to rely on are in the courses, right? And so here's the route course. If I was to come to the content section, and let's come down to the activities for week 1, you can see we've got quite a few Learning Labs activities, and RIP-NG is covered there because it's part of the first chapter. But you can see here we've got the week 1 chapter exam and the week 2 chapter exam. So if I was to click on this, it's going to bring me over here to the chapter exam, and you can see that we don't have a chapter, I'm sorry, that we've got 15 questions in the chapter exam. And you can look right over here, and to make sure that we're all looking at the same thing, let me pull my drawing tool up. You can see here, and this is my goal, and this is right around where the Cisco Networking Academy comes in on the number of questions. It's between 15 and 20 for each of the chapter exams. So for the route course, CMIT 451, I do have a chapter 1 exam here that's 15 questions. And so let me clear that and come back. Oops, sorry, come back here. And so we could say, okay, let's preview the exam. And let's start the quiz, right? And so this gives you the ability to take a look at what the questions are. And you can see here based off of, hey, what's question number 2? What's question 3? And we can move around, right? And here they are, a lot of multiple choice, a majority are multiple choice, a couple true or false. I really didn't have time to pull together network diagrams for more in-depth questions. And that's something that I will be doing all throughout the spring to ensure that when the summer starts, all 3 CCNP courses are fully stocked with chapter exams ready to go. So for chapter 1 here, and then let me exit the preview. So for the chapter 1 exam, you've got the 15 questions. And if I was to go back to, let's go back to content, and we'll come up to chapter 2 for the route course. So for the activities, and when you scroll to the bottom of the screen, oops, for the activities, you can see week 1, chapter number 2 exam. I click on it, you can see that I was able to get 8 questions in there. So what you can do is you can add questions to this if you'd like, or you can leave it at the 8 questions. I would recommend adding some questions in. And all you have to do is click on Quiz Setup in your course room, and this is going to pull up the quiz, right? Or the chapter exam, I should say. And so you can see here we've got some multiple choice, we've got some matching, and multiple selection. And again, everything is just sort of weighted at a value of 1. And what you would do is just add or edit the question. So this is something that you're going to have to do if you're not Cisco Networking Academy certified for this semester only, is you're going to have to go into the weeks by taking a look. And I think for the 451 course, I think it's only that first week. I think week 2 under activities. So you can see week 2, chapter 3 exam. And I'm not sure, I guess there are 5. So I got 5 questions in there for this, but this is where you're going to come to look. And if you look at that and you say to yourself, you know, I need to add some questions in there, and I would hope that you would get it to at least 10, you just simply click on quiz setup. And in the quiz setup, you would come down here, you would click on add, edit questions. And here's where you can pick a new true, false, multiple choice, written response, short answer. So again, you kind of get the idea. And that's how you would be able to add some questions in to the chapter exams. So it's highly encouraged that as soon as you have access, and you should have access now because we're getting close to starting, is to come in and take a look and to start to compile some questions. Now, you can also take questions that exist in the pool. I didn't get rid of any of the pool. So you can browse the question library as well if you don't want to come up with questions on your own. But you would need to browse the question library and then bring those questions into the chapter exam, right? And now the same is true of the final written exam. You can use the browse question library, or you can come up with questions that you would like, right? And so in order to do that, it's the same concept. You're simply going to come down to the final week, right? Course finals week. And here's the CMIT 451 final exam. So I'll click on this, and you can see that there's 33 questions that are in there already. So I would highly recommend that you take a look at the quiz setup, take a look at the questions that are in there, ensure that, and again, all of this is getting covered. So all of these 33 questions have been covered, right? So if you wanted to go with this, you could, but you're not limited to this. So I would highly encourage you, as you're reading through the chapter in the Foundation Learning Guide, if there's certain questions that you feel would be of value to the learners, to go ahead and add those in. So the final exam is here. And again, this is CMIT 451. If we take a look at 452, which is the switch course, and again, here we've got this, right? You can see I've got a welcome thing, and I've titled them for each of the courses, right? So 451, 452, 453, along with the nomenclature for the Cisco exam. So switch, I think it's 300, 115. So if I was to come to content and to scroll down to chapter 1, I'm sorry, week 1, and to come to activities, and to scroll down, there's your cut and paste video. And you can see week 1 and week 2 chapter exams. These are here. When you get into weeks further on, and again, I got 15 questions in here. When you get to weeks that are further down the course path, like week 4, come to activities, you can see I've got week 4 chapter exam 5, but I don't believe, yeah. So when you see add a grade item and there's nothing there, it means that there is not a chapter exam. So again, super simple. Click on quiz setup, and this is where you're going to come in and you're going to add or edit the questions. So you just start adding your own questions in. It's very straightforward and not that difficult. And to be honest, this is what I had commented on earlier. This provides us as instructors, back to that question regarding the Cisco Learning Labs and how students can easily get the answers. Well, it's clear that a lot of students that take these CCNP courses have friends who are also taking these CCNP courses. And so the answers get shipped around pretty quickly, right? They can be shared pretty quickly. And so the nice thing about this is we now sort of have diversity in the exams, where we're not using the Cisco Learning Labs exams. We're going to be using the exams that are here, at least for the non-NetAcad certified instructors. So we definitely have options. If you're a NetAcad certified instructor, all you need to do is, when you go to the content area, right, if you're going to use the Cisco Networking Academy Labs, you would come down here to the Chapter 5 exam, and instead of having this link to the exam, you're going to change it. You know, you would edit the properties in place, and you would change it so that it links, whoops, sorry about that, that it links to netacad.com, right? And they would be going to take the chapter exam in NetAcad, and you would be setting that up. So definitely go through each week, take a look at the chapter exams. And again, you'll have time prior to the start of your course. And I tried to make sure that at least the first week, was kind of set up and ready to go. But walk through each of the weeks, right? And take a look. And the same thing if I come down here to week 8 for the CMIT 452 course final exam, you can see that the final exam is there. And again, I encourage you, if you come in here and you say, you know, I'm going to take a look at the quiz setup. I want to see what these questions are all about. What's the VTP question here? And we take a look and you decide, and you can see this is one of the questions. This is one of my questions that I typed in here. So I like to use Evil Corp Limited as the company name. So if you take a look at this and you decide, oh yeah, that's a good question, I'm going to keep this question, or hey, this gives me an idea for another question and I'm going to add that in, feel free to add those things in. I think it adds a lot of value when the instructors are adding in different questions. Maybe it's a question that came up during your course and you want to add that into your final exam. So there's definitely value there, having us with a little more diverse pool and set of questions. So that's 452. A quick note on 453. And actually, let me come back. So in 451 and 452, I feel that in the discussion areas, the forums, there's 4 opportunities here each week for the learners to pick 2 topics. And these were completely uplifted to be far more current. And I would make sure that you go through and you read the different discussion topics that are being addressed. However, in 453, I want to say that some things got changed, right? We added in all of the minimum requirements and things like that. But a lot of the topics are sort of the same as they were before. The look is different. It's got the APA citation requirements everywhere. But for the most part, and I'll be changing a lot of these in the spring so that they're ready for the summer. These are, in a lot of cases, the same T-shoot questions or troubleshooting questions or discussion topics, I apologize, that were there previously. But again, the structure of all 3 courses is the same. So in the T-shoot course, it looks like they're going to have 3 topics from which to choose. But again, that's going to be changing here in the spring as I continue to work on each of these courses. For the chapter exams, we've got the same challenge here. When I go to content, if I was to click on week 1, troubleshooting, and come to activities and come down. So we've got the chapter 1 exam. And this ended up getting put in there by mistake because it shows up here on this next screen. And you can see add grade item. So typically the instructors teaching the T-shoot course are NetAcad certified. If you're not, then you'll need to come up with some questions. And again, super simple to add in, super simple to add in the questions for the exam. And give me one second here because I'm looking for, where did that go? Yeah, I'm looking for something here that I do not see. Add dates, restriction, published. So we should see, I didn't want the learning labs. I apologize, I'm looking for the quiz setup. And again, let me make sure I'm looking at this properly here. Hold on, let me take a look at week 2. Yeah, so here's the quiz setup. I didn't see that with the chapter 1 exam. Let me take a look at the chapter 1 exam again. So again, the quiz setup is there, so you can set the quiz up. And it's actually not a bad thing because it's going to give you an opportunity to familiarize yourself with the Foundation Learning Guide. And so for chapter 1, it's not here, that quiz setup. So I'm going to have to figure out why it's not here for chapter 1 because it should be there for chapter 1. So create a chapter 1 exam, chapter 2 exam. And the nice thing is when you come down to the course final, to the activities, and we've got the 453 course final exam, right? This is something that you're going to have to type up, right? Because this is one that I was unable to get to. So for the T-shoot course, you're going to want to make sure that you have a some set of questions that you've come up with throughout the 8 weeks that you can populate here. Again, that's if you're not Networking Academy certified. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about are the projects, and this is also something that I'm working on. So if I was to come out to, sorry, not to course home, let's come to content. And we've got week 8. So we've got the course final project paper. And if I click on that, you can see we've got the network proposal here for 451. These will all be changing with updates. And this is probably at the end of the spring, before the window closes for me to make the updates for the summer. This will be one of the final things I do. The chapter exams are clearly sort of more important and a higher priority, because we already have sort of these network proposals. You're free, if you look at that final project paper and you decide, hey, I want to spice it up a little bit and add something in, again, you're free to do that. And so please, and another thing is, if you have any feedback, right, if something doesn't look right to you, or you feel that, hey, maybe we should be talking about this in the network proposal paper, please let me know. Again, I am definitely open to making these the best courses possible. So 452 has its final project paper, and then 453 for week 8, the finals week, has the T-shoot paper. So all of the final project papers are in all of the courses. Again, the 3 that you see here, or that you would see here, these will all be changing. And I'm going to go to a more standardized format so they look the same from a structure perspective, again, just like the courses. But the topics they definitely need to be uplifted and changed, and need to be made a little bit more challenging. Okay, so that was really all I had. Again, you should all have access to the courses that you're teaching, and I highly encourage you to get in there, make sure that everything looks good to you, that the links are all working, that you've reviewed the discussions, you know which chapter exams you're going to need to come up with some questions for, and then how you want to attack the final exam. The T-shoot course is going to be the one probably with the most work, but you do have, if I was to go to content and I was to take a look at week 2 here, you do have, and I'm sorry, week 1 activities, and we'll go to chapter 2 exam here. So if I was to click on the chapter 2 exam, you do have access again to a pool of questions. And so the pool of questions still exists. If you wanted to add edit questions, you can import from the question library. And you can see here, quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3. So there's lots of questions you can pull from, right? So I don't want you to feel as if you're going to have to come up with, 150 questions on your own. There are tons of questions from which to choose here in these courses. You can see the final exam. There were questions you could pick from there, and you can add those in, or you can go ahead and, again, customize it how you see fit. Okay. And I promise that this will be the last semester that you do have to do that, unless you would like to go in there and do that. So that's really all I wanted to cover. And so just a quick recap here. Packet Tracer 721 for the CCNA security instructors. Please make sure that's a priority in updating your courses, and that 721, you have the binaries downloaded and that they're there ready to go for the learners. And check the writing, check a lot of the verbiage to make sure the verbiage refers to 721. The welcome videos are there, the cut and paste videos are there on how to turn things in and how to do the cutting and pasting, as well as how to use the learning labs. I talked about the Cisco Learning Labs, approaches that you can take, maybe if, you wanted to make it a little bit more challenging, so that the students simply can't click on answer key or can't click on procedure and see every single command that they're going to be typing. And then we talked about the chapter exams in NetAcad to make sure that you take a look at each of those chapter exams and the final exam, and especially in that T-shoot course, to pull the final exam together. and then the projects. And again, those final projects are there. So I really hope that you guys like the new format of the courses. The material is the material that's being used. It's the most current material. So we're in a really, really good position there. Again, it's going to be from an evaluation perspective where a lot of my work during the spring is going to be to round out those chapter exams and to pull everything together so that going forward, when you're teaching any of these 3 courses, when you fire that course up, you just need to make sure that you put your name in there and that you check everything out and make sure everything is working and the links are functional, and then off you go, right? And again, if you're a Cisco Networking Academy certified instructor, the chapter exams, final exam, things like that don't specifically apply to you, but you do need to make sure that you update your course room to reflect those changes. All right, well, that is all I've got. Again, it's travis.bonfili@faculty.umuc.edu, and my cell phone number is 443-223-1430. If you guys have any questions, you'd like to provide any feedback, if there's something that you really, really like or would like to see, please let me know, and we can definitely take a look at incorporating that. All right, well, that's all I've got. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Good luck this semester, and that's all I've got. All right, have a great night. Thanks a bunch.